Sup, nerds? I'm James with Nerd Alert. I'm here with Jimmy and Brandon. And today we're going to be discussing each of our top 3 in no particular order horror film directors per spooky season. Yay! So would anybody like to start us off?
You can't do any of this. This isn't on all 3 of ours, but John Carpenter. I mean, come on. That almost should just be like the one you mentioned. It's like if we're listing our favorite burgers, In-N-Out's number 1, and then you can actually list your favorites underneath it. Like John Carpenter is the In-N-Out of horror movie directors. He's untouchable and the best there ever is.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Obviously, the creator of Halloween, duh. Just his take on Michael Myers. If you've never gone back and revisited or never seen it, it's amazing how little blood, guts, violence there is in that movie. Yet you really are on edge like the whole time, and he really invented that slow stalker the whole time. It's John Carpenter. Then obviously The Thing. I guess you throw in Big Trouble in Little China. That's a phenomenal movie, and it's weird sci-fi horror.
I mean, you still got They Live. You've got, he's done so many. What's the one with Christopher Reeves?
Prince of Darkness. There was Village of the Damned. Yeah, it was the blonde kids, blue eyes. I think it was. Damned.
Okay, yeah, that one's fucking great too, man. He had so many really good A-list ones, but even some of his lesser-known ones are still outstanding.
Yeah, even the Vampires, the James Woods one, I thought that was entertaining. Yeah, I that's a good call. Good call. I'm gonna go, and Brandon's gonna love this because he's from Cleveland. Wes Craven. You cannot.
All right.
Without Wes Craven, creator of Freddy Krueger, the Scream franchise, and one of the most brutal horror films I've ever seen. Last House on the Left. You watch that and you're like, oh my god! Like you feel that movie. Same with The Hills of Eyes. He just created so many horrific movies, and it's very cool. I actually was lucky enough to meet him, and he's very tall, dresses well, debonair, and you're like, you freak me the fuck out because you're like a normal human being, but I just can imagine what's going on in your head.
Definitely. Wes Craven's works are some of the most impressive, if I do say so myself. I've only seen Scream, but even Scream is just a cut above when you look at horror films because it's a satire. So satires are obviously going to be comedic, but it still scares the shit out of you because you don't expect, especially if you haven't seen it and you don't know what it's about, you do not expect what's going to happen. And it's honestly more terrifying when you see Ghostface get bodied and get back up and keep killing. It's like, is this a regular ass dude who's just getting bodied and still killing? I know I'm focusing on Scream, but Wes Craven knows how to make horror worthwhile.
And he's got some fun that people don't know, like People Under the Stairs. I love that.
Under the Stairs is great. What's the other one? Nightbreed?
I don't know. I don't think he did that one.
Or he might have Presents.
Let me see. Oh, he does have a couple productions where it's like
Wes Craven. That might have been where I saw it with, but I don't know, man. He's another one that's just like
it's synonymous.
The first, especially the very first Nightmare on Elm Street was just like it was terrifying. I obviously get a little campy by 4 or 5, maybe 3 even, but one's perfect.
Once he directed the first one.
Yeah.
He came on and was supposed to direct, but Robert Shea, who's the producer and owner of New Line Cinema at the time, was not an awesome dude, so to speak. But he was supposed to direct 3, The Dream Warriors. That is a great movie where he just basically contributed scripts, as well as Frank Darabont, which cracks me up, from Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption, now Walking Dead. But then he did A New Nightmare. So the ones that he had his hands in, is like, wow, these are really innovative. But then the other ones, you kind of get like Rennie Harlan, number 4. I'm like, dude, what the fuck, man? Seriously? Get out of here. Yeah. Or Alice Cooper showing up as Freddy's dad. You're like, what the hell?
Like, what are we doing here?
I love you, Alice Cooper, but this is weird. Yeah. It definitely got weird.
All right, I'm gonna jump in here with my first pick. I gotta go with the man, Sam Raimi.
That was going to be my second pick. So there you go.
Sorry,
No, that's perfect.
I swooped in and I got you there. Don't worry, I have plenty. I've been looking up to make sure I know what I'm talking about. I love Sam Raimi. Almost everything he does is worth watching. I mean, if you're not a horror fan and you want to watch a Sam Raimi movie, go watch Spider-Man. Like, he just captures it perfectly. But if you want to get horror, you've got Evil Dead. Or was he Evil Dead?
Yes.
Okay,
I
yes,
love,
you've got.
I love Evil Dead, and the fact that he's like, you know what? I made this for no money, so I'm going to make it again. And essentially, Evil Dead 2 is Evil Dead
It's just
1.
Evil Dead 1.
A little more money. I love that.
Yes, and it's just stupid fun. You have Bruce Campbell, and it's like
Hail to the King, baby.
the Bruce Campbell Sam Raimi partnership is like the most beautiful thing in all of film, because if it's Sam.
The car is in like every one of Sam Raimi's films.
It's in his Spider-Man films. It's in everything he does, I believe.
And it was awesome to see him inject his horror expertise into Multiverse of Madness, because it's like
It wasn't the car was in Multiverse of Madness too.
It was.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I think you're right.
It
was.
I believe it's
interdimensional thing in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite of his. Not my. One of my favorites, because people go, Evil Dead is your favorite? Like, I love Evil Dead, but I love watching Drag Me to Hell. That is such a good one-off, standalone horror movie. That's just, to me, it's a horror movie, because it's like, spoiler alert, they get got. And it's even one of those things that it's like, she didn't do anything wrong, and now she's dealing with this curse. She's going to die. Like, it's just so terrifying to me. And he's so good at being like, John Carpenter really, can make you terrified visually and that feeling. Sam Raimi's always been gross, and it's just been a good, scary gross. Like, it just it's uncomfortable. And
that's one of my favorite when they do interviews with Bruce Campbell and they talk about the amount of blood, fake blood they use on Evil Dead, any of the movies. And like, he always douses me with blood, and it takes forever to wash this off. I hate it. It's just like, I love hearing these stories, because there's so many gross elements. Not like, oh, I'm gonna puke now, but just like, oh god, that's and you're right, he's so good at that, Sam Raimi.
Who you got, Jimmy?
We've mentioned him in some of our other things. He's one of the newer ones on the block, so to speak. I gotta go with Jordan Peele. It floored me that this guy who was Key and Peele, and I just see as this hilarious actor, then went into directing some really good original horror content. Us, like that. Wow, I remember seeing the commercials for it. It was like, what the hell's then to watch? I'm like, that is freaky deaky, man. Like, wow. Nope. I really enjoyed that one. I wasn't a huge fan of Get Out. I think that was his first horror film coming out, but I wasn't a huge fan of that one. But when he did Us and Nope, and then took over the Twilight Zone series, rebooting that, and then he's producing like the new Candyman, I'm like, this dude knows horror.
And that new Candyman was great, man.
Oh, it was so good. I mean, obviously it's got sequels that you're like, what? This needs to die. And then when they brought it back and tied it into the original, it's like, damn, that's scary as fuck.
So well done, man. I watched Us and Nope on the plane ride back. So I got to like double feature it, because I was like, hell yeah, they've got some horror movies on here. Us is maybe in my top 5 horror movies, especially I'd say like the last like 10 years or so. That is such a good, original, terrifying idea. And I think Jordan Peele too, like the only thing we knew of him was Key and Peele.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Nope, and I'm thinking like, oh, he's doing like a set. I thought it was a Key and Peele skit when I saw the trailer.
Yeah.
Honestly, no, because I was like, oh yeah, that's like funny, like doing that. And then like, oh, it's a movie, so I'm thinking it's going to be a comedy movie, because all we know of him is being absolutely hilarious. That's the other thing. Not only can he do horror, he does great comedy. So I'm thinking like, okay, like now he's going to do some comedy movie. That sounds fun. And then, as you learned more about it, you're like, no, he's doing a horror movie. And I think the fact that it was just so good took me by like such surprise that I've been hooked on him since then. Like, Yeah, Nope is outstanding. Us is great. It's just he's so good. It's wild to me he's so good at horror.
Yeah, I love that, and I'm sure we're gonna get comments for being woke. Fuck off. I love the fact that he portrays things that he grew up with and sees, and he caught hell for it. Like, why do you only cast black actors and actresses? Like, are you kidding me now? Brandon and I have a really good friend, Patrick, who hates horror films because the first people that die are the black actors. So I love that we see something that's different and we're not used to, and it's in a good way. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, Jordan, and I mean, God, it's like now when he announces a new movie coming out, it's all I'm thinking about is like, when can I see this?
Agreed. What's up for you, James?
Ooh, this is I've got a toss up between two. Whew. I'm gonna go with the one that's less so. Brian De Palma.
Okay, I don't necessarily jump to him as a horror director, but you're right. Yeah,
The two films I will point out are like true horror are definitely Carrie and Phantom of the Paradise. I have not been able to see Carrie yet, but Phantom of the Paradise I love dearly. It's you wouldn't consider it a horror film. You'd kind of look at it like you look at Rocky Horror, and then it's like, yeah, you watch it during Halloween, but it's
yeah,
not
but
necessarily
it's
horror.
It's less. Rocky Horror has a bit of like tongue in cheek to it, whereas Phantom of the Paradise doesn't.
Yeah.
No, Phantom of the Paradise. It's like if Rocky recognizes it's goofy, Phantom of the Paradise goes a step beyond that. It's like, oh no, now we're just going to make this real and somewhat terrifying, because for as much as, again, it's not as scary as maybe a traditional horror film, you, as an artist, there is horror in its message, in that it's like, you have this artist who wants to create their perfect piece, and it gets bastardized by a big corporation, and they kill themselves over it. And in the meta context, it's kind of terrifying. And as a horror film, yeah, there's blood. It's a little freaky. I mean, basically getting your throat destroyed in a record press is kind of terrifying.
See, this is fucked up though, because James knows I love that movie, and now I have to agree with him because he brought it up. And this kid's manipulative, dude. College is like turning him into. Look at him.
Oh no, I was like this before college, but
No, college making it worse, dude. You're feeling like you're like realizing your power. It's fucked up.
I will say that Brian De Palma, this is why I don't really necessarily think of him as a horror, because to me, the most horrific scene he has ever made is Scarface, when Al Pacino is questioning the drug guy in the bathroom with a chainsaw. And I'm like, oh my God, that is horrific. But yeah, Carrie obviously is iconic. Great young cast. You got before the greatest American hero, William Catt. I was like, how can you beat that with John Travolta? Whatever, that guy. But yeah, it's you're right. I would have not gone that route, but you're right. He definitely is a big name in horror.
My one of my friends growing up, his dad was a psychologist, and he thought it would be good for us to watch horror movies when we were younger, because it would like desensitize us or whatever. So it was some, jargon shit or whatever. So my dad, of course, is like, yeah, I'd fucking go ahead, dude. If you're gonna do it at your house, hell yeah. So like I invited to a sleepover. He's like, you guys can pick all the food you want, all the candy you want, but I get to pick the movie. So we're like, dude, who gives a shit? Like, he's gonna buy us pizza and candy and soda and all this shit. And then this guy put on Carrie, and that fucked me up. This is like third grade. It fucked me up, dude. I was not okay for a minute. My dad thought it was hilarious. He was like, yeah, I don't know. You're the doctor. I'll let you figure it out, but I think it's gonna fuck him up, and it fucked me up, dude.
That's awesome.
You're the trained professional. That was the deal they struck up. Traumatize my kid, and I get free therapy.
There you go.
So I'm going to go a little different route with my next one, and he's definitely horror, but you probably never heard of him, Steve Miner. And the reason why I bring him up, because he is known and directed Friday the 13th, and House. I love the movie
House.
It's such as George Wendt, William Catt. I should have said this during the comedy one because it's so stupid. It's so fun. It's hard to find because when you type in House, the TV show with the doctors comes up, and it's like, that's not what I'm talking about. It actually has a sequel, which I think is horrific. It's just bad. But it's got the greatest title, House, the Second Story. It's like, you can't beat that tagline.
I didn't know this. He also did H2O for
Yeah.
Halloween. Yeah.
He's definitely, I did Warlock. He's done a lot of, as I'm going through his list here, he's done a lot of horror movies, but he's not really well known because he's sort of like the studio guy. We just need somebody to come in and do this. But then at the end of the day, like, you watch all the Friday the 13th, so like, you know what? 2 and 3 were kind of the better ones. So I really appreciate him as a horror director. I really like what he did for basically establishing some of these franchises like Friday the 13th. I mean, in the movies he did, we get Jason. Like, people forget, and it cracked me up because James showed a bunch of his friends the first Friday the 13th, and they had no idea. They'd never seen it. And it's like, yeah, it was Pamela. It's not a great movie until you kind of watch it and it becomes a twist because you think it's Jason, and Jason's not even in that movie, really. So when you do get Jason and you get him with the potato sack on his head, and you're like, wow, okay, this is how the franchise really started. And then the third one where he actually gets his hockey mask, you're like, that's the iconic Jason we know. And this is the director that was responsible for it. So that's why I mentioned Steve Miner.
A side note on part 3 that I love so much because I only own the regular version, but that was released as a 3D movie, is I love the shots that are meant for 3D that are just regular, like watching it, because they're just like focusing on this eye for an uncomfortable amount of time or something, and you're just like if you don't have the context for the 3D, you're just like,
It's like,
fuck,
oh,
what is that shot
the-
for?
oh,
all of a
3D.
sudden-
Yeah,
3D.
they're just like, oh, I'm pointing
Yo-yo.
to you. Yeah.
But then there's some cool ones like the
harpoon
water
gun.
the spear that comes at you,
Yeah.
or when Jason's
Yeah.
falling as he's being hung and he's falling like right on you. Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
cool ones, but you're right. It's like,
I love those where it's like, we're coming for you.
and there's nothing better than 80s 3D. Like when Hitchcock did it
100%.
earlier, but 80s 3D, like Jaws 3D, is like, really? What? Why did we do that in 3D? And it was the old red and blue glasses. It wasn't even good. You're like,
Yeah, it's outstanding though. Like it's good. It's good. It's good in its own right.
Now there's 2 I have in the bank. I want to see if
Oh.
let's play a fun little game. Let's see if you can guess them.
I know one.
What's one?
I can't remember his name, but he's Midsummer and Hereditary. That dude.
Oh man,
You
I
got
can't
me.
talk. I gotta walk away.
I love Ari Aster.
He's fucked up, man. That guy is
He's
fucked up.
he's one of the first horror movie directors that like made me genuinely want to stop watching because of how like off guard or how
So
surprising
uncomfortable.
it is.
So uncomfortable.
Hey guys, so we're gonna make an orgy scene with eerie music, and the dude's been hopped up, but that's after we watched a dude get his lungs inverted. So
I remember. Well, I watched Hereditary by myself. I just like, my wife does not like horror movies, so it's like that's also why on the plane I was watching Us and Nope, because I'm like, this is the time I have. I watched. They were, you were able to stream in the hotel we were at, so I watched like Terrifier 2 because I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to put this on at home. But I watched Hereditary by myself, and the light pole scene, I stood up. I rewound it because I was like, that can't be what I just saw. And just the silence. And then when I went and saw Midsummer, I saw it with Chase. And the intro to that movie is, I don't know that I'll ever watch Midsummer again. It fucked me up that bad. Like, the intro to that scene was so dark. I remember I leaned over to Chase and I was like, I'm going to be completely honest with you. If the rest of the movie is like this, I'm fucking out, dude. Like, that was a lot.
Well, and that's what's fucked up is that I forgot about the intro scene because the things that happen the rest of the movie are so fucked up. So when I rewatch the things, I'm like, I totally forgot. They're not like, to me, it's like, it's already, they're in Sweden. So when I rewatch, I'm like, oh shit, I totally forgot about the whole setup.
It was so dark.
Yeah, what's also fucked up is that if you pay attention, you can see the shape
Yep.
of the sister's corpse in the trees.
I hate it so much. To me, it was like Requiem for a Dream. Outstanding visual storytelling. It's a good movie. I just don't know that it's on my rewatch list at any
Oh
point in
yeah,
time.
that one.
Like,
That one is fucked up for sure. And
what was that? What was that fucked up short? It's on YouTube. Something about the Johnsons or some shit, or something's up with the. Oh my God, James, you've never watched this? Oh, this is uncomfortable to bring up to both of you. Ah,
Oh.
If somebody wants to Google that synopsis, and then I'll just leave it to you two. That's fucked up.
What is it called?
Something. I think there's something about the Johnsons, or something's up with the Johnsons.
Oh yeah,
Wait,
something about the Johnsons. Something. The strange thing about the Johnsons.
Yeah. Can you read the synopsis?
In 1995, acclaimed poet Sidney Johnson accidentally interrupts his 12-year-old son Isaiah masturbating. He apologizes and reassures Isaiah that the act is natural, unaware that Isaiah was masturbating to the photograph of Sidney as a young. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah, dude, it's fucking
What?
weird. He's jerking off to a picture of his dad, and then it just turns into this gross relationship for like the rest of. Yeah, I love this. I love this shot right now between the two of you.
Wow. I'm cutting this whole segment. We're done.
Yeah,
I
dude,
need
that
to
guy-
watch this.
This is what I mean. It's he's a fucked up individual, but you can't knock him. He's a great horror director.
Oh, I need to watch this, but not because I want to.
Ow.
Let's. I'm moving on to. I'm moving on to the other director, Danny Boyle. Let's just cleanse the palate.
The look on both of your faces was great.
What the fuck?
Apologize for asking for clarification. That's my bad.
Anyways, Danny Boyle. He did Sunshine and 28 Days Later.
Danny Boyle's outstanding, man.
Yeah. And he's doing the new one with Alex Garland, I believe, coming back. The new 28 years later, I think.
Yeah, that duo is deadly when it comes to horror.
Aren't we almost 20 years? Aren't we almost like 28 years from the original?
Announced it. We looked at the math. I think we're just a little short, but it's
We're
close.
like
Fucking
26
insane
or
to think
something.
about.
Yeah.
That's insane to think about.
We're-
Because 28
we're
Days
20
Later still hangs out or still holds up.
We're 22. We're 22 years removed. It was a 2002 film, so if they released it in 2030, it would be 28 years later.
Honorable mention. He's known more of a producer, but Sean S. Cunningham, who did direct the first Friday the 13th, and of course James and I's favorite Leviathan. But he's one hell of a producer. He did Last House on the Left. He also obviously produced Friday the 13th. He produced House the Second Story, House 3, the horror show, House 4, which doesn't have a tagline. I don't know why.
House 4, no tagline.
And then Jason X. Yeah, I really think he should be mentioned as far as a horror icon because he did produce a lot of these well-known horror films. You guys have any others?
Yeah. We covered a lot of ground on this one.
We
There's
did.
somebody we're missing that someone's going to be like, how could you not bring up?
Well,
Lang?
to stop people from being jackasses, Tim Burton, because they're gonna say it for some magical reason.
Well, they'll say David Cronenberg. They'll say Clive Barker. I do not like the Hellraiser franchise, so that's why I don't really get him in. The dude who did Phantasm, yes, that's awesome, but
Dario Argento or whatever.
yeah,
Oh, that's great
mention
too.
those. We get it. George Romero, I'm sorry, we should have mentioned him.
Oh my God, we fucked up. Yeah. Well, but I mean, like, look, he did. You know, the originals are great, but I would say some of the other catalogs we named have ones that hold up throughout.
And
I don't mean that offensively.
No.
That's fair.
He's done a lot of movies also where the remake was really good from something George Romero did. I really Dawn of the Dead, written by James Gunn. Zack Snyder actually made a good movie. I like that one. He did another one, I forgot, with Timothy Oliphant.
The Crazies.
Yes, The Crazies. I really like
The remake of that was outstanding.
Yeah. Another one that people probably don't associate with horror anymore is James Gunn. I really enjoy the horror movies he came.
Slither.
If I may interject with a few others, Kubrick, he did The Shining. We'll mention him here.
Shining was another one. My buddy brought that over in 4th grade, and I was like, "Why did I watch?" I made a lot of dumb decisions.
Rob Zombie.
Devil's Rejects is one of my favorites.
It is, but he also has some of my least favorite horror films. It's amazing how mercurial he is with his movie. Like, I do enjoy his rebooted Halloween movies. His movies are the Three from Hell. I'm like, oh my god, how did
that
you?
didn't need to be made, man.
And then how'd you make this? It sucks.
Yes, and I just remembered M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong because people are going to bring him up too for some weird reason.
I mean, when he was good, when he was on, he's on. Like, you know, like Six
You know what?
Senses.
Split was so good.
It's great.
Yeah. James McAvoy as all those characters. Like,
As everyone.
yeah. Everyone.
James
Yeah,
McAvoy stars in Split as the entire cast.
Yeah.
He did the reverse Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy plays different characters played by the same person. It's all James McAvoy's like, we don't need to pay makeup. Just do it all
How
here.
dare you forget Michael Myers, who plays a bunch of different characters?
Yeah,
Mike-
but not,
Mike Myers.
Not like
getting me confused because I'm like, he just plays the shape and everything. Oh, you mean the comedian? I got you. Okay.
Whoops.
well, fun Michael Myers tidbit when we were talking about movies earlier and Edgar Wright. One of my favorite lines in Baby Driver is they were going to do Mike Myers masks in the heist, and they couldn't get the rights to it. So he called Mike Myers and said, "Can I write this joke in that they buy Austin Power masks?" Because he said, "Buy the Michael Myers masks." So that's why they all have the Austin Powers masks, because they couldn't. And he's like, "Michael Myers, the murderer, not Austin Powers."
That's
why
hilarious.
they're
I
all
didn't
in,
know that.
Austin Powers last. Yeah.
I'll also say James Wan because I know people will be like, why didn't you include him? And he does have a very prolific horror catalog.
Guys, it sounds like we got a lot of good horror, and that's awesome to have because, you know, we could have no horror.
Well,
Hell yeah.
let us know what you guys think director-wise, because I know we're forgetting somebody and be like, how could you forget this guy? Well, let us know because we want to broaden our minds.